Dev bhai, you have a teddy bear at your back.
Oh, that's my. So my daughter will always, gives me one that you just let it sleep with you for some time.
Today is Father's Day, by the way.
Yes,
I guess.
so all the fathers.
Yes, yes. Um, yeah, I know father's role normally, and maybe today is different, but the time that I got married, they were very quiet and in the background, but yet holding the forefront. And I think it's a lot of things they do in their own very quiet ways. So thank you.
We are not quiet anymore, I guess.
Yes,
For the men's rights also.
yes.
By the way, it's rolling.
Okay, good.
All right. Yes. I
Okay,
think
so
we start.
namaste everyone. So we will start with our continue with our chapter number 4 reading. So last time we had a rather heavy paragraph, and I just wanted to share a few points before we actually start reading the today's session. Can you see on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just thought that just a few concepts we will quickly go over. Okay, there are four inseparable aspects of every unit of nature. So there are actually the units could be in one of the four orders: material order, that is Padarthavastha; biological order, that is Pranavastha; animal order, that is Jivavastha; and knowledge order, that is Jnanavastha. And all four of them are actually having the form and properties dimension is has the same definition. That is, they have shape, volume, and density, and they actually demonstrate the Sam, Visham, and Madhyasth gun. Okay, that is generative, degenerative, and mediative properties. And but in terms of their essence, they have differentiations. Okay, so this is a little different from some of the other philosophies that you may have read, that essentially things are one, but forms are different. In Madhyas Darshan, it is saying that essentially there are differentiations, while the forms are that are in the same way, like shape, volume, and density, right? So, so basically, what it is saying is that the material order or Padarthavastha, the essential nature is integration, disintegration. This is the way that things join and disintegrate. That is their nature. Okay, Sangathan Vigatan is in the word in Hindi we use for that. And so this is by by having this nature, they participate in the balance of all the four orders. Okay. Then comes the biological order, that is Pranavastha, where Sarak Marak is the or the vitalizing, devitalizing is the essential nature, which is the way they participate in the balance of the four orders. And animal order has the essential nature of akrur krur, that is uncruel and cruel. And this is the way they basically uh, participate and are participants in the uh, balance of the four orders. Now, the human knowledge order actually have their essential nature, which they are to uh, discover because they are the Jivan centric entities. So they need to actually uh, make some effort to reach their essential nature. And that is Dhirta, Virta, Udarta, Daya, Kripa, Karuna. Fortitude, courage, generosity, kindness, grace, and compassion. Okay, so while rest of the nature is having the are already established in their essential nature, the humans ought to make effort, mm, for becoming established in their essential nature, right? The effort is something which is integral to all the units of nature, right? So that is the way basically material order makes effort to reach the biological effort order. Biological order makes effort to reach the animal order. So there is evolution or the emergence in the uh, or the unfolding of next orders actually happens by the by effort only. So and the effort uh, and the entities in the nature, because of their being saturated in omnipotence और सत्ता में संपृक्त होने के कारण, they have the energy to make effort. They are always endowed with energy to actually make effort, right? So these are the entire energy, entire nature is in that sense is effortful for attaining certain completeness, right? So that is the uh, way existence is. Now comes the fourth aspect of every of the nature, which is called dharma, which is the anchoring of of that order. That is how it is. That is, for example, material order, the existence or astitva, that means to continuance of being, right, is something which is innate to material order. It is not possible to annihilate matter. They can transform, but it's not possible to annihilate. Similarly, biological order, the innateness or dharma is growth. So this is something that cannot be separated from that. Pushti is something which is innate to biological order. This is the way they are in coexistence. This is the way they is their identity. So innateness or identity or dharma, they are synonymous. Similarly, animal order or Jivavastha, the innateness or dharma is जीने की आशा or want to live. Okay, so we cannot separate the want of living from animal order. In and finally, the knowledge order, the innateness is happiness. So this is something which is quite you can maybe you can say that the ontology of uh, Madhyas Darshan, which this is the way it sees that realities are in nature. Like we said that first there are only two realities, Satta and Prakriti, and within Prakriti it is actually classified into four orders. Okay, quickly. So the explanation uh, that I just talked about, these four things, this form and properties are common across all the four orders. Essential nature and dharma are specific to each order. Okay. Dharma is that from which one cannot be separated. Essential nature is the way by which one is a participant for balance of the four orders. Properties is the effect or influence on mutuality, and form is shape, volume, and density.
Rakesh, one minute, Rakesh. I mean, is there a specific reason why density is used instead of mass? Because there's some technical thing is there. That's why I'm just asking.
Okay. Okay. Basically, in Hindi, it is called Akar, Aitan, and Ghan. Okay.
Ghan, density. Okay.
So, so
Mass
when
is
we
not referred, right?
yeah, so
Mass. There's no reference to mass, like weight kind of a thing.
weight is a relative
No, no,
phenomenon.
because the definition is a little bit technical. That's why I'm just asking. So it's called density over here, right? Ghan.
Yeah, it's called Ghan. Ghan means that how dense is the
Yeah,
matter
because a
is.
set of points can also be dense. You understood my point? If I put points over there which are massless, together they can still be dense. You can call them dense.
Yeah, but
Uh,
here we are saying that they're all of them, the unit is cannot be separated from its matter, right? So, so there is no way that a unit will be without any mass.
but it is called Ghan density. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Understood. Okay. Let's proceed. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So we see that the form and properties are something which are perceptible through senses, while essential nature and dharma, that is swabhav or dharma, they are actually something that can only be understood. Yeah. So these are, that is the two dimensions. That's the thing. Right. I mean, the one is that you can see from your senses, and second is something that we you can understand, right? Finally, the classification of this is something that human being is doing. Other thing that we are saying is that material order, biological order, and animal order, they are not having awareness of themselves. Okay. So they are not aware of their essential nature or dharma or properties, etc. While human being has the capacity and the need for becoming aware of themselves and also being aware of the rest of the nature. Okay. So it is human being who basically understands how the nature is organized and what is their role in it. Okay. No other entity in the nature has the need or possibility for doing this. Okay. So, and there was one word that basically came was essentiality or maulikta. So, uh, essentiality is value of the unit in terms of its participation in the overall orderliness of the four orders of nature. So, each species or existential status has its own essentiality. All humans are one species. Okay. So this is some a thing that we actually keep hearing this word maulikta, right? So which means that there is something which is essential to human being, which only they can do, which others cannot do, or it's only when they do this thing that is the way they participate in the uh, mm, in the overall orderliness of the existence. So humans, by behaving like animals, cannot actually participate in the orderliness of nature, or if they cannot actually have a vegetative existence and be and expect that they would be having harmony or keep sitting like a stone, right? Then they would not. So there is a reason for their being, and they need to actually realize their essentiality. Like while the nature other than humans are already established in their already participate are participants based on their essentiality, humans are to need to discover their essentiality. And uh, and all the and other thing that we can see is that um, there are actually many species in each order. Like for example, material order has many kinds of substances. Like for example, iron is there, sodium is there, hydrogen is there, and water is there. So all the things that are composed of matter are there. Each of them has their own essentiality. Okay, and each of them has their participation in the overall orderliness of the nature. While human being is a single species. Okay, so that means they have a common essentiality. Okay, and that is the way they participate in the um, in this thing. So this is one thing. The last paragraph that we had read was kind of a loaded one, and we were all uh, running here and there to make sense of it. So, I thought that we will do the.
That's useful, Rakesh. Thank you. Yeah. It was very
Yeah.
useful. Thank you, Rakesh.
Okay. Good. And last one is that there is a concept of planes and irreversible transition, that pad or sankraman. Okay. So we say that units of nature could be in one of the four planes. Okay. Plane is that word that I have used for the word Hindi, in Hindi called pad. And plane cycle is the word that I use for Pad Chakra. Okay. So pranic plane, delusion plane, deific plane, and divine plane. These are the four planes in which units of nature could be. So material order units and biological order units are in the pranic planes. That is where their cyclicality is established. Okay. Then delusion plane is the next one where Jivan is there, and Jivan is has identified itself with the body. Okay, so this is the plane of being, or in which animal order and deluded humans are counted. Okay, so animal order clearly exhibit instinctual living, and deluded humans also, in a way, live like animals. So that is why they are in the same plane. Okay, they are in the body of humans. But at the level of their consciousness, they are in uh, uh, the same as animals. So that is the reason. So deluded humans are, in that sense, are uh, not established in their order in a proper way. Okay. So then comes the deific plane, which basically is after one has become awakened. That means one has become able to discriminate between uh, uh, what is Jivan and what is body, and is therefore basically able to live in a realization based manner. Okay, yeah, Anubhav Mulak Vidhi. So that is called the deific plane, yeah, Devpad. Hmm. And then after that is comes the divine plane. That is when humans are awakened with the evidence of their awakening. That means that humans have not only are able to um, live in harmony, that harmony has become established in the form of their tradition. Oh, okay. So that is the way that basically these four planes are defined. Okay. Then there are actually between these four planes, there are three irreversible transitions or sankraman. Sankraman means that going from one plane to another plane. So first is called the constitutional completeness, which is pranic plane to delusion plane, when the atom becomes constitutionally complete. So that is the constitutional completeness, is the first milestone or the irreversible transition. Then second is the activity completeness, which is basically a transition from delusion plane to deific plane. So this is basically is the s- is the transition where one does not return like it from in a simple language. We can actually say that we cannot become confused if we have attained clarity, right? So it is the that having attained the realization in coexistence, one transitions to the a different plane of being, okay, which is the deific plane. And finally, the conduct completeness, which is deific plane to divine plane, that once the humankind as a whole basically is gets established into uh, awakened tradition, there is no way that it can reverse itself to back to being deluded and destroying one another and the earth, right? So this is uh, kind of puts the perspective. So we can quickly
Rakesh, can
discuss.
the can
Yeah.
the Jivan transition between humans and animals?
Yes, it is possible in the delusion plane.
Understood.
Yeah. So it's less likely, but it may happen because in this plane, Jivan has is identified itself with the body, right? And human body is the most conducive for sensory enjoyment. That is the way basically. Uh, for a deluded Jivan, the human life is most attractive. However, it is possible that Jivan might actually uh, assume that it is would not want to have the suffering that one has from in a deluded living. So one basically rather live like a animal in an instinctive way, right? So it is that kind of a uh, shift is possible. So that's it is in the same plane. Yeah.
Understood.
But yeah, I wanted a little clarity on these 2 points, the deific plane and divine plane. So in deific plane, it's awakened humans, which means even they will be evidencing, but maybe within an individual, uh, uh, the evidence would be there. But when we talk about divine plane, it is evidence in the form of the whole culture. Is that the difference?
Yes, I would think so.
Okay.
So basically, in deific plane, one would begin by evidence within the family, and to some extent, it will reach out to the society also, right?
Okay.
But the divine plane is that when it is established in the society, as part of Vyavastha itself, right?
Hmm.
So to ensure that it becomes part of the tradition, it's not something which is limited to. Uh, yeah.
And the last one where the conduct completeness, I was just thinking the deific plane to divine plane, again, we are talking about at the level of tradition, or just say when one talked to Baba and he would say that, yeah, I'll have to come back again and start from all over again. So what would that be? That means that you can go back to the deific plane for the purpose that the whole of humanity reaches a certain, reaches a level of awakening. Is that so? One
So
can
my
go back.
my so my understanding of this is that basic transition is that from delusion plane to deific plane. That is
Hmm.
that actually happens with anubhav or the realization in coexistence.
Okay.
And with that, one actually, in terms of capability, uh, one is capable to live like a divine human being also. Yeah,
Oh,
Divya
okay.
Manav Ekme.
Okay.
But because evidence is always in the with the collective, so
Hmm.
conditions of collective improve gradually,
Hmm.
right? So even though one has the full capability of
Hmm.
awakening, right from the time one transitions to deific plane, the evidence actually starts coming only gradually.
Hmm. Okay.
So I think it is important mm, uh, to actually approach these things in a simple manner.
Hmm.
Yeah. First, actually, be established that uh, this is the ontology of this darshan, nothing outside. It is within this only. The
Hmm.
basic, what are the basic milestones? What is the terminology? We are actually all becoming gradually clear about that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, any other thing we want to discuss before we move on to the text?
Just a quick clarification, Via. Are we, if you can
Mhm.
please go, yeah. When we talk about these four, I mean, we have read Pranapad, then Bhrantipad, Devpad, Divyapad. I think that's what we are
Yeah.
discussing here in English. So are we talking about the Pranapad or the Pranapad Chakra? And if there is a difference,
um yeah, basically what we are saying is प्राण पद में एक चक्र है between material order and biological order. Delusion plane, there is a cycle, it's like deluded humans and animal orders. Deific plane, there is a chakra or a cycle between uh, humane humans and deific humans, dev manav और मानव के बीच में. And divine plane is not in any is called pad mukti also, because it is it basically is with evidence. Yeah. So, so, so if you look at it, take the example of the first one, that Pranpad. So there are two orders are actually there in it, Padarthavastha and Pranavastha, and there is a cycle of the two, right? So, which is quite evident in our understanding also, that plants actually grow and they decompose and they become soil, and soil again basically gives rise to the plant. So there is a cycle between the two. Right. In the same way, there are actually cycles. So in nature, actually, one of the thing that this darshan actually brings about is that there are cycles at every level. Yeah. So that is how I understand it.
okay. Actually, I had a little confusion on the first one, especially because pran and then putting material order against that word is something I'm not
Yeah, so
sure.
you can say that plane is identified by the highest thing that it you can actually get there. Like, so deific plane has Manav and Dev Manav both, but you are actually calling it a deific. You have to name it. So that is how it is.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's just a name that it's called Pranpad. Yeah. Pranpad may actually material order and biological order both are there. Yeah.
Ji.
Okay, good. So we will actually now just quickly share the main book. Okay. So we had read this heavy duty paragraph, which I would like you to read that again, because it's it I think it is a very well written paragraph, but it is only dense. It requires a lot of repeated readings to actually
Mm.
get a sense of it. Yeah. Okay.
मैं पढ़ दूँ भैया? Because I'll
हाँ
be on.
दीदी बिल्कुल.
Yes.
Yeah, बिल्कुल.
And also, if you can please zoom in a bit.
Yeah, I'll just do that. जी.
Yeah. सह अस्तित्व में परस्परता स्वभाव सिद्ध होने के कारण पूरकता और पहचान आदान प्रदान के रूप में होना अनवरत स्थिति है। अस्तित्व ही सत्य है, सत्य ही स्थिति सत्य, वस्तु स्थिति सत्य, वस्तुगत सत्य की स्थिति में अध्ययन गम्य है। सह अस्तित्व में अध्ययन पूर्वक आदान प्रदान का जो प्रवाह है, उसे देखने पर पता चलता है कि सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति ही प्रधान यानी अथवा संपूर्ण अध्ययन की वस्तु बन जाती है। स्थितिपूर्ण सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति स्थितिशील दिखाई पड़ती है। स्थितिपूर्ण सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति उसके अनंत इकायत्व के स्वरूपवश पहचानने में आती है। इसी क्रम में प्रत्येक इकाई दूसरी इकाई को पहचानने की व्यवस्था अस्तित्व में प्रकाशित हुई। स्थितिपूर्ण सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति का पूर्ण में गर्भित होने का तात्पर्य है कि पूर्णता का अभीष्ट अथवा ऐसे अभीष्ट का मूल रूप समाये रहना। इसी सत्यता का प्रत्येक इकाई पूर्णता के अर्थ में होने के लिए एक अनिवार्य स्थिति हुई। इसी क्रम में संपूर्ण इकाई का विकास की ओर उन्मुख होना स्वाभाविक हुआ। फलस्वरूप परस्परता में पहचान सहित आदान प्रदान होना एक स्वाभाविक स्थिति हुई। Since mutuality is established as the essential nature in coexistence, complementarity and mutual recognition in the form of reciprocity are a continuous condition. Existence itself is the truth. Truth is accessible to study in the forms of existential truth, situational truth, and objective truth. Upon observing the flow of reciprocity in existence, it becomes evident that nature saturated in omnipotence becomes the primary or complete subject of study. Nature saturated in state, complete omnipotence appears. Let me read it again. Nature saturated in state, complete omnipotence appears state dynamic. No, I don't know how to read this one. Nature saturated in state complete. Omnipotence becomes recognizable by virtue of its infinite unitness. Accordingly, the arrangement whereby each unit recognizes another stands manifested in existence. The nature saturated in state complete omnipotence being embedded in completeness means that the intended end of completeness or the fundamental basis of such intended end is inherently contained within it. By virtue of this truth, every unit is necessarily oriented towards completeness. In the same sequence, it becomes natural for every unit to be oriented towards development. As a result, reciprocity together with mutual recognition becomes a natural condition of mutuality. It is a very loaded paragraph indeed. Yes.
बिल्कुल. I think we need to break it down or unpack it.
Yes.
So it's not so difficult if we try to understand it slowly. So one is that mutuality is established as essential nature in coexistence, complementarity, and mutual. एक minute. Since mutuality is established as the essential nature in coexistence, complementarity and mutual recognition in the form of reciprocity are a continuous condition. So one is that basically because things are in coexistence, the units are in coexistence, there is mutuality, meaning that it is uh, the units have to come together. Right? Every unit, because there are multiple units and there is space between them, the units are going to come together. So mutuality will be there between them, and there has to be a concept of essential nature in coexistence for them. So that is what is basically. Now how this will manifest? This will manifest in the form of mutual recognition and complementarity. So and which will result into some adan pradan or reciprocity. So the units are there, they will be actually having a mutuality, parasparta. So there are keywords here: mutuality, essential nature, complementarity, mutual recognition, and reciprocity. The order of that is, first is coexistence. Because of coexistence, that is nature saturated in omnipotence, this actually ensures that there is actually uh, essential nature in the units. And these essential nature gets manifested in the form of complementarity in their mutuality. How does complementarity basically come into play? That actually comes into play by actually units recognizing one another. That is called mutual recognition. What is mutual recognition actually results into reciprocity. So this is so there is no time gap between the two, between these things. These are simultaneously there. Coexistence is there. As a result, what is happening in the units is being described here. Because coexistence between nature and omnipotence is there, that is the cause. And because of that, we are having the units actually have the capability to recognize one another and actually exhibit uh, complementarity and reciprocity between them. So that is the basic condition that we actually need to visualize or have in our mind, that at the base level there is omnipotence is the ground of being, and on that the units are actually in different statuses, and these in different statuses the units are recognizing one another and are responding to one another. So units are, because their units are in the multiple, so there has to be mutuality has to be there, and units have their essential nature for actually participation in essential nature, to which actually is about, as we had discussed, that is how, which is the way that they will actually participate in the balance of the four orders. So each of the unit has an essential nature. This essential nature gets manifested in the form of complementarity and mutual recognition. So mutual recognition is something that basically is by units having the image of one another. इकाइयां एक दूसरे के ऊपर प्रतिबिंबित हैं, and based on their essential nature they respond. Okay, so this is the flow of reciprocity is there in the nature, is basically is being described here. This is the condition of existence. This is the way the uh, nature is operating. That units are not in the state of struggle or push and pull, or there is a survival. They are actually in this situation in which they are actually are recognizing and responding to one another. Okay, so this is a natural flow of coexistence that basically is being described here. So we need to actually hold these concepts together, that what we had discussed, that there is the saturation in coexistence actually ensures that there is each of the entity of existence has a certain bhav in it, that is called swabhav, right? That is, each of the entities is established with its essential nature based on its position in the uh, evolution, right? It actually has its essential nature. And this essential nature itself gets manifested in along with its form and properties. रूप और गुण के साथ में वो basically manifest होता है. And that manifestation then takes the form of आदान प्रदान or reciprocity, right? So this is the way nature is functioning, right? This is the way matter or the nature or padarth is actually is in the way in is this is the way it is, rather, right? So I'll just quickly go over the thing and then we can do some questions. Okay.
It was very
Existence.
nice. Yes, sir. Yes. No, no, no
Yeah.
problem. Bhai. Let's just go forward.
Yeah. Please ask the question in the middle. This is completely all right. I'll also get some feedback that.
No, the picture is very clear in my mind after your description. It was confused otherwise. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, all these things, complementarity, mutual recognition, uh, and reciprocity, these are the condition that is actually of the nature. Mm. And there is no flow of energy that is happening um, uh, uh, from the omnipotence in this. Their energy is always available. There is no direction that is coming from omnipotence. Essentially, the nature is actually developing its receptivity for its further evolution, and each level of being of nature is orderly in its own way. Okay, so it is basically layers of orderliness is what Babaji is describing the nature to be, which each next one actually having the previous one into its fold. So in this way, nature is unfolding its next level of orderliness. That is what basically is my understanding of it. Yeah. So at the fundamental level, it is nature saturated in coexistence. And that actually basically is getting manifested as particles recognizing one another to take the form of atoms, atom recognizing one another, take form of molecules, molecules one another recognize one another, take form of organisms, and then organisms, and then basically G1 is another kind of atom, and they recognize one another and actually exhibit a orderliness of G1 and body together, right? And then their larger things come together. So it is the manifestation of coexistence in a layered way that we see in existence. And each layer is actually including the previous layer into its fold, right? So we talked about the four aspects of the reality, uh, the dharma, swabhav, um, uh,
There are properties and gun, a gun and
right, properties and form, right?
yes.
So this is the way we basically can observe that this is the way nature is. Okay, and we the what we are basically trying to understand in this is that what are the laws with which nature is working. Okay, for the law is actually gets manifested in the form of order, right? There is, if there is order, there has to be law, right? So in that sense, omnipotence is a kind of uh, is setting the ground of being in the form of law, and the nature is actually uh, manifesting that in the form of order, right? So so if we can actually get the basic idea in that way, that the uh, so it is like, for example, Samvidhan is there, and then we are actually living in this, for abiding by it. That is the way that we are actually in order, right? So that is in the same way. Um, uh, Omnipotence is there as the reality, yeah, as the ground of all being, which actually is the condition in which the units actually function. Okay, so then comes these three terms, which are called sthiti satya, vastu sthiti satya, or vastugat satya. Actually, the order of them is at the fundamental level, it is called the existential truth or sthiti satya, right? Which is the basic condition of all existence. That is what is the state of being. That is uh, nature saturated in omnipotence is the state of being of all the units of nature, be it a plant, be it an animal, be it a human being. So that is the existential truth for all nature. Then comes the objective truth, that while existential truth is common for all the things, there are actually differentiations between between the units. So it is not that nature is all flat. There are actually differentiations there between them. So these differentiations we talked about as the planes and orders of the in the nature. And the objective truth actually describes that form, properties, essential nature and धर्म, रूप गुण स्वभाव धर्म को ऑब्जेक्ट जो है वस्तुगत सत्य जो है वो उसको डिस्क्राइब करता है. So objective truth is about explaining the differences between of these four aspects. Now, when situational truth is the when you say that, for example, this particular human being at is this place and this time, that is the situational truth. So even situational truth is a truth. Like, for example, Renu Didi, you are listening to this from Mysore, and Raghava is from Indranagar. I am listening from Kanamangala. Okay, so that is the situation in which we are in, right? So that is the time and place, Desh, Disha, Kal. So that so these three together basically define the truth of the units of nature: existential truth, objective truth, and situational truth. So uh, that's a description of that.
Rakesh, a big question. The situational truth, for example, each of these objects are throwing an image onto me, right? Based on which I need to respond, right?
Hmm.
So is that the situation does it not include the reflections that are falling on me? I mean, did you get my question?
Yeah,
It's just,
situational truth is the point, is the ground of our actually exhibiting work and behavior. Okay, that is the way that we actually behave in our family and within our society, in our day-to-day work, so to say, right? It in which we instantiate our understanding. So situational truth is that. Objective truth is our our
whatever.
state of uh, basically that, like, for example, that I am a human being with who has understood. Okay, that is my objective truth. Okay, for example, or
Sure.
there can be objective truth of somebody can be that a unit can be this is an animal, this is an animal, or maybe a cow, right? And now situational truth is this cow is standing in this farm and at this time, that is its situational truth. Yeah. So truth is, so basically this is the way mm, so truth is not something which is out there somewhere. So he says truth is accessible to study in the forms of existential truth, objective truth, and situational truth. So so one actually always is on the ground of situational truth, and then study actually happens of the objective truth. Okay. And then one realizes in the existential truth. So these three truths are inseparable from one another, right? It is not something which that also needs to be kept in mind. Yeah. So upon observing the flow of reciprocity in coexistence, it becomes evident that so now he is saying that basically when we see how the Adan Pradan or the reciprocity is happening, then and one sees that at the root of this, it is all omnipotence, nature saturated in omnipotence. So that becomes the our subject of study, because once we become clear that this is what all there is, then this becomes our primary object of study. Then comes two words here, state complete and state dynamic. I have translated them as sthiti poorn or sthiti sheel. Okay, state complete is sthiti poorn and state dynamic is sthiti sheel. The omnipotence is with the adjective state complete. Like it means that it is in the complete state. Its state does not change ever in any condition. It is the same way that it was, it will the same way it is, it will the same way that it will be. So its state does not change, right? Where a person, so it is basically the absolute, we can say, is the absolute state in which it continues to be. It is eternal. So that's why it is called the state complete. It doesn't have any movement in it. It doesn't make any conscious decisions. It doesn't have any uh, it doesn't have any uh, desire in it. It doesn't perform any activity. It's activity less. So it does not move from one point to the other. It does not interact. So it basically is available in a uniform manner. That is why it is called the state complete. While the units of nature are called state dynamic or sthitishil, which is means that actually they keep transitioning from one state to another, right? Like for example, an atom is then its particles move and it enters into another state. Like we are actually keep moving from one state to the other state, right? So state and motion, sthiti and gati, is something which actually defines our the nature. So nature is always in a state and in the motion, right? So it's not that that nature is only in the motion, it is in the state also. It's always in a state and it is in the state in motion. So, so which basically is the state is defines that something is, that is the being is the state, and the motion is that it how it actually performs its activity. So both it is there, therefore it is performing an activity. In that sense, basically it is called a state dynamic. So nature is called state dynamic. Nature saturated in state complete omnipotence becomes recognizable by virtue of its infinite uniqueness. So this is clear that nature is can be recognized because there are infinite units in it. So this is how nature is recognized, that in the form of units. Okay. Accordingly, the arrangement whereby each unit recognizes another stands manifested in existence. This is fine. So this line in highlight actually is an important line. It's highlighted in the text also. The nature saturated in the state complete omnipotence, being embedded in completeness, means that intended end of completeness or the fundamental basis of such intended end is inherently contained within it. Which means that basically there is an intended end of completeness that is inherent in the units. So because the units are embedded, in Hindi it's word very nicely written, पूर्ण में गर्भित होने के कारण पूर्णता का अभीष्ट इकाई में समाया है ना, which means that basically it's like garbhit is like for example, very few places where Babaji uses an analogy to actually explain. In a womb, mm, a fetus is there, and so there is a directionality in the fetus for growth and attain a completeness so that it can be born, right? So in the same way, nature, because of being present in the complete omnipotence, is garbhit or is basically embedded in uh, in the omnipotence. So because of that, the directionality or the intended intention is there inherent in it. And now with this directionality intended in every unit of existence, every units actually combine with one another. They come together with one another to actually exhibit the evolution. The evolution happens because the units are there with the intention of completeness. And we talked about the three milestones of evolution and the four planes of existence. right? So the units are at the fundamental level because of being saturated in omnipotence. They have the intention for completeness, and this intention of completeness can only be fulfilled when they come together and exhibit the next level of beings. So only when units of material order can come together and with the intent of completeness, can the next evolution for biological order happen. Only when biological order and material order, or the units of material order, can come together, can the emergence of Jivan happen. Only when only when the units of biological order come together can they actually evolve the bodies of the animal order, and so on, right? So we say that basic intention setting, uh, the default setting of the directionality is in existence, is because of their being in coexistence with omnipotence. So that basically ensures that the units are in the motion for establishing ever next level of order. So then it says that by virtue of this truth, every unit is necessarily oriented towards completeness. In the same sequence, it becomes natural for every unit to be oriented towards development. As a result, reciprocity together with mutual recognition becomes the natural condition of mutuality. So I think that is the essential idea. If you basically try to visualize without actually having the notions of uh, either uh,
Very clear visual picture we are getting, Rakesh. Thank you for this.
mm,
Right. So one thing that is bothering me. So
mm,
basically, the state complete and state dynamic. So nature, because nature is state complete, there is no activity. It doesn't.
omnipotence is state complete.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Because omnipotence is state complete, it has no activity, and it will not try to influence anything. It is just stable. Now,
Yes,
so by definition, our units cannot ever be state complete, right? Because
yes,
they
they
only
can never
try,
be.
but they can only try. They try to. They have this. They are set up for becoming complete, but they are destined never to become complete. Correct?
So there is a difference between complete and completeness. Okay. The
Okay.
units actually achieve completeness. They do not become complete. So if we look at constitutional completeness is a level of completeness. So units achieve completeness while state basically omnipotence is the state is in a state complete state. So
Yes,
there are
understood.
three words are there, पूर्ण और पूर्णता, है ना? तो सत्ता
Okay.
is पूर्ण.
It's cool.
That
Okay.
while units actually have the intention या अभीष्ट for पूर्णता,
Hmm.
it's for completeness. So because of being saturated in omnipotence, they have the direction for completeness. And in the state of Anubhav, the units are not becoming complete. They are achieving completeness. So,
They are
so
achieving
that,
completeness. Okay.
yes. So this completeness is actually realization in the coexistence with omnipotence. So units never become omnipotence. They attain realization in omnipotence, uh, which is like becoming one with it, which is becoming one with it, which is doesn't mean that one Atma becomes the omnipotence, it means that Atma realizes in omnipotence.
Mm. Understood.
So coexistence is the fundamental or the absolute ground of being. And this is where basically it is the beginning of emergence, and it is the pinnacle of basically the emergence also.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Understood.
so basically the two are always in coexistence, the nature and omnipotence. The nature has the drive towards an impulsion towards actually making uh, to attain completeness, and in this drive towards completeness, it actually exhibits uh, how it combines with other units and thereby demonstrate evidence uh, levels of orders. Okay.
Mm.
And these orders are actually then mutually complementary also. And once one has attained the realization, one actually becomes the custodian for this entire chain of being. Okay. So this is a chain of being, anukram, that actually is there. That how actually one link is gives rise to the next link, and these existential statuses are in the state of harmony, and they become established as a collective harmony. And human being is the final link into this chain of being. Right.
Rakesh, somehow I'm getting a picture like this. Please let me know. So basically, there is this tendency of becoming collective, right? I mean, from the lower to the higher level, there is a
Hmm.
tendency of becoming collective and responsible, and mutuality is there. So once in the final structure, everything is looking like one big organism of units to me,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
it
true.
has, right? It is just like all of the individual units are there, they are structurally stable, they are cooperating with each other, working for the structure of this whole thing. So it is just one big organism like a human body, right? See, parts of myself are supposed to work for this whole body to work. Similarly, all these
Yeah,
units are looking like an organic big structure organism, whole thing together, right? And
that is
that
true.
that is realizing in coexistence. So it sees it as a complementary to existence, the Brahma, which is so both of them are realizing each other. So both, so this okay, understood. Is that picture somehow
Yeah,
correct? Or
then in that, so overall the idea is correct that it appears fragmented from the start in the beginning, but it unites when one basically has the realization, and the whole thing actually becomes integrated as a khand swarup mein, right? So that human being actually is able to connect, see the connectivity of it all, and then basically establish themselves as the custodian of the whole planet, right?
and the whole nature of omnipotence along with these units which are have to be infinite because omnipotent is omnipotence, they are realizing, they are working or living together as a combined coexistence in happiness. I don't know, yeah, I mean, looks very grand picture for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are basically trying to make sense of this to actually understand. You see, it's important to be clear that once one is that we need to be clear that nothing is outside of this, and this is what we have in front of us, what we which we are a part of. We need to actually understand how it is functioning, what is the purpose of it, what is the direction of it, where it is headed, right? So that is what adhyan is about, that what is going on, where is it headed, where, what is the my role in it, right? This is what we are actually trying to understand. And what is also being said is that what appears at the level of common sense gets connected with the way it is at the fundamental level also, right? So basically, Adhyan is about establishing the connectivity between what is appears to our senses to what basically gets into our reasoning or logic, and to come and then to what basically comes into our realization. So Adhyan is about establishing the link, which in Hindi we are calling it bhas, abhas, pratiti, anubhuti. He is establishing the link between what is perceptible to the senses, to what comes into our comprehension, to what basically comes into our realization, right? So that is basically is the idea here, that what is apparent to the senses, what is in what is clear in the logic is also in the realization as well. Yeah.
Understood.
So mystery is when you actually have some aspect of the thing which are beyond comprehension. Okay. So he's saying that there is no mystery in existence, right? So he says that, so that is what he calls that the idealism was mystery centric. Okay. And 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 the science was not able to unite all the things, but actually was only seeing the instability and uncertainty in the nature, right? So was not able to basically, so that is why he calls it that instability and uncertainty rooted. It is not really rooting itself into the realization in coexistence, right? While idealism is actually rooting itself into the mystery, which is not able to connect with the conduct, right? So it remains rooted in the mystery and says that it is not able to connect it with the behavior. Yeah.
Mm.
So in that sense, he has presented this darshan as vikalp, that it is not in continuation of what has been presented by these two schools of thought.
Understood.
Namaste.
Vishal Bhaiya?
Namaste.
Yeah, yeah, Hari.
Hariya. Here, comprehension means analyzing.
आभास.
It's logical.
यस, कॉम्प्रिहेंशन को हम लोग हिंदी में उसको आभास की जगह पे रखें,
Yes,
जैसे
yes.
परसेप्शन में हम लोग भास और कॉम्प्रिहेंशन में आभास, है ना? I don't remember right now and awareness is pratiti, and then realization is anubhuti. So we are seeing that Adhyan actually is about establishing the end-to-end connection between what gets perceived, what gets comprehended, what one becomes aware of, and then what one gets realization of.
Okay. So in pratiti and realization, anubhuti,
Yeah.
difference is here the awareness means we are saying sajagta, and in
हाँ,
realization it is sahajta. It's like that.
बिल्कुल,
So
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल.
another thing which Raghu here has already discussed, state dynamic. So
Hmm.
it means it's a limit of words to express the things. Otherwise, in nature, we can see it's dynamic. But yeah, as you explained, completeness. Uh, with the words, we have that limitation, so completeness, but it has continuity also. There is continuity of activity, even after Acharan Punta, like that.
बिल्कुल. So basically why it is स्थितिशील है ना? That is
Yeah.
the word that is being used. Actually it is स्थिति गतिशील रूप में है ना? If
जी.
we look at the nature, what is the thing? It is in the certain state of being. There is no destruction of that. उसको annihilate नहीं कर सकते. And units are found in different existential statuses. So they have states. So
Yeah.
state is something which is there. And at the same time, they unlike satta, it has a motion also, उसमें गति भी है. So it is, that is why I translated it as state dynamic. Okay, we
Yes.
can maybe arrive at a better word, but basically the whole idea of writing this in English is to make a bridge for the English speaking world, and also basically bring this into the modern philosophical discourse also, right?
If you see the basic principle of Sram Gati Parinam, then this Parinam we are saying for a time being that it is a state, and then again there is a Sram and then Gati and then there is a Parinam.
जी जी. So state dynamic nature actually exhibits these Shram Gati Parinam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we use Paragami word for omnipotent. Here, word itself has a limitation. Gami means it's a movement,
Right.
but
Yeah. So
it's not like
yeah.
that. It is going into that unit. It is there.
Right. Right. It is through and through. So
Yes.
omnipotence is permeable. It permeates. It is all pervasive. Okay. These words we are using for describing the Pargamyata. So permeation is the word that we are using for describing this.
Yes. Yeah.
एक मिनट में पानी लेकर आ, just 1 minute. Sorry, yes, I'm back. देव भैया, shall we move forward?
GB, if nobody else has anything to.
I mean, this whole
Yes, Raghav.
it is very satisfying to understand this whole Akhand thing, and then how it reciprocates and understands the relationship with omnipotence. The picture of this Akhand thing is giving me a very satisfying, at least, understanding. Rakesh, thanks for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So Raghav bhai, how do we suggest we go next?
We can read, I mean, Hindi, somebody can read, I will read the English one.
I can read the Hindi one for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can also read in Hindi. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just Krishna bhaiya.
स्थितिशील प्रकृति की परस्परता में पूर्णता और अपूर्णता की स्थिति इस प्रकार स्पष्ट होती है कि स्थितिपूर्ण सत्ता में स्थितिशील प्रकृति अनंत इकाइयों का समूह होने के कारण परस्परता एक अपरिहार्य स्थिति है। पूर्ण में गर्भित प्रत्येक इकाई पूर्णता के लिए ही क्रियाशील एवं विकासशील है।
Okay, I read the English one. The condition of completeness and incompleteness in the mutuality of state dynamic nature becomes clear in the following manner. Since state dynamic nature in state complete omnipotence is a collection of infinite units, mutuality is inevitable condition. Each unit being embedded in the complete is active and development solely for completeness. So next paragraph also we can read, I guess.
Yes,
Bye. Yeah.
स्थितिपूर्ण सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति सत्ता में अनुभव पर्यंत विकास और जागृति के लिए प्रवृत्त है। विकास का तात्पर्य गठन पूर्णता, क्रिया पूर्णता और आचरण पूर्णता और उसकी निरंतरता से है। जागृति का तात्पर्य समाधान एवं प्रामाणिकता से है। इकाई में नियम और उसकी निरंतरता इस तथ्य से स्पष्ट है कि इकाई में नियंत्रण और उसकी महिमा स्पष्ट होती है। यह इकाई प्लस वातावरण इक्वल टू इकाई संपूर्ण रूप में है। यही उसकी निरंतरता का द्योतक है।
Okay. The nature saturated in state complete omnipotence is engaged in development and awakening up to the realization of omnipotence. Development refers to constitutional completeness, activity completeness, conduct completeness, and their continuity. Okay. Awakening refers to resolution and authenticity. Okay. The law within a unit and its continuity become evident from the fact that regulation and its efficiency are clearly present within the unit. This is expressed in the form unit plus environment equal to unit as a whole, which itself signifies its continuity. Maybe we can discuss this, Rakesh, until now, until these two paragraphs.
Okay. कृष्णा भैया, would you like to add anything? आप कुछ बताना चाहेंगे?
हाँ भैया, ये जो फर्स्ट वाला तो बहुत ही स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड ही है, जो अभी तक
हाँ.
हम डिस्कस करते हुए आ रहे हैं। और इसमें
हम्म.
जो मेन बात मुझे जो दिखाई देती है कि वो जो अब परस्परता जो है एक अपरिहार्य स्थिति है। कई बार हम इस तरह के नोशंस में चले जाते हैं कि हम दूसरों से डिस्टेंस बना लेंगे, आइसोलेटेड हो जाएंगे। दैट इज नॉट अ नेचुरल स्टेट।
हम्म.
क्योंकि पूर्ण में गर्भित प्रत्येक इकाई पूर्णता के लिए ही क्रियाशील एवं विकासशील है। तो ये बाई जो नेचुरल लॉ है उसके अकॉर्डिंग ये होना ही है। हम अगर
हम्म.
कुछ अन्यथा मान लें, वैसा हो नहीं सकता है।
हम्म.
इस लाइक
बिल्कुल.
इस
I
पैराग्राफ
mean,
में।
what is not clear to me is how this mutuality is inevitable condition. I mean, I
Because
mean,
units are many,
okay. So they have to live together because of their many. So they
and they
have
are,
to work together.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. They have set
So,
up to live together, basically. Okay, understood.
yeah. So because they are distinct, and they have the intention of completeness, and the
Hmm.
completeness can only be achieved in togetherness. So this is, there
Yeah.
is
So
no
they
way
have their
that,
design. Yeah. So they have their design inbuilt, and
yeah.
they are seeing through the image, and based on their receptivity, they will figure out somehow, and they will somehow try to become and build layer on layer of completeness. Yeah, so mutuality has to be built in because they have this inherent drive towards completeness. So they will
Right.
have to become mutually. Yeah, yes, I think I got the picture, Rakesh.
ये
Yes.
तो
If
नेक्स्ट
you if you
नेक्स्ट
look at,
नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ में भैया इसका आगे अगर हम
hmm,
गठनपूर्ण परमाणु की बात करें तो भी आ रहा है। और पहले आपने जो डिस्क्राइब किया था गठनशील परमाणु के लिए, तो पदार्थ अवस्था, फिर उसका इवोल्यूशन प्राण अवस्था से फिर जीव अवस्था और ज्ञान अवस्था के रूप में। फिर ज्ञान अवस्था में देख रहे हैं तो गठन पूर्णता के बाद क्रियापूर्णता अवश्यंभावी है, फिर आचरण पूर्णता और फिर उसकी निरंतरता। और फिर उसी को हम समाधान और प्रामाणिकता के रूप में देखते हैं। तो जो इकाई है वो एक कंप्लीटनेस है, मतलब इकाई प्लस वातावरण, तो वो इकाई अपने संपूर्णता के रूप में।
hmm,
ये दोनों प्रोग्राम से वही जिस्ट जा रहा है जो हम अभी तक डिस्कस करते आ रहे हैं पूरे।
right. So actually, if you look at it, once you get the essential idea of coexistence, everything else actually naturally unfolds. There is
Hmm.
no, not much difficulty after that. Once I Babaji actually told, first you become clear about coexistence.
Hmm.
Everything else अगर वहां पर हिला हुआ है ना, तो बार बार मतलब आपको वापस आना पड़ेगा, राइट?
Hmm.
सो ही यूज टू एक्चुअली से कि पहले सहअस्तित्व को समझो, then because details of that, all the of that is in the form of when we describe human conduct, right? Manviyata Purna Acharan, then we will have to describe in how, like, ethics, values, and dharm niti, rajniti, and samvidhan. So it all becomes very huge description, right? So it can become overbearing also. But
Hmm.
this all synthesizes at the root in the foundation of coexistence. If that basically becomes clear, then everything else becomes uh, kind of follows from it. Yeah.
Yeah, this coexistence of infinite units and satta living
Right.
together
That
in
is,
harmony forever. as a single unit, because Tadami, so this whole thing is engrossed, or I mean, it is, yeah, with omnipresence, it is realizing the coexistence. So it is happy. The whole unit thing is happy. I mean, yeah, picture is very, very, I have to
Yeah.
understand the
So
details in all senses, but yeah, first level picture is very nice.
yeah, so it's important to actually, and we need to appreciate that we will actually become clear in a gradual fashion only. We will first become clear in the big picture, overall sense, right? Then we will basically become clear on in its nuances, right? So that is the way understanding actually develops. That first we actually understand how the big blocks are coming together. So important to when we say that entire thing is one unit in or ikai in Madhyas Darshan, actually it means vyavastha. If something actually is one unit, which means that everything is having a common purpose, and their functions are mutually complementary, and their structures are also aligned, right? So that is the way basically when we say a unit is there, like a family is a unit, or or a tree is a unit. We see that actually uh, all the it has a common purpose. It has a coherent function, and its structure is in support of that, right? So and together with all of existence actually is also in the form of a vyavastha, or as a common unit, as one unit operating with a common purpose, right? With a mutually complementary functions. So this way of looking at whole existence as orderliness manifested at many levels, right from the very fundamental ground of being to the uh, layers that are built on top, one top of the other. That is basically is the whole idea of a study. This study actually builds a certain mindset in our own, that this mindset of orderliness, व्यवस्था की मानसिकता बनती है, right? And then we actually recognize our own, then our conduct becomes definite with with this mentality of coexistence. It starts manifesting in our own behavior, right? So there is no before and after. If we actually behave in a certain way, our thought actually develops. If we develop our thought in a way, our behavior develops. These are two actually things go side by side, and this eventually leads to realization in the coexistence, which is the absolute reality. Yeah, and which results into basically uh, uh, continuity of it, right? So there is no running away from this uh, coexistence. So if you look at it, humans actually tried to uh, live, as we were reading in the chapter number 2, in their how their history they went about living in different ways. But if you look at it, collaboration happened. Okay, they were kind of drawn together to live even under the compulsion of uh, there was an inherent drive for coming together. So they came together in the under the heading of religion, or in the heading of nations, and so on and so forth. But they could not achieve that their inherent intention. The sense of void continued, right? So in this process only this darshan has come about, that as part of the progression of human journey, where it basically sees that there is a possibility to actually see the big picture of coexistence, and realize harmony in the human living. Okay,
I think we need one more paragraph. There are 3 more minutes.
okay, good. Ganesh Bhaiya, you want to say something?
Yes, Priya, namaste. So
Namaste.
what I get from this discussion is that like what is said in Adarshwad that Atma ka Paramatma mein milan, that is not going to happen as suggested here. Even if it is a conduct completeness, it will remain as a dynamic unit, it will remain as a continuous unit, and it will be in coexistence with the omnipotence. It will not be a part of, or like what is said in the Adarshwad.
जी बिल्कुल.
अच्छा,
Yeah.
ठीक. Okay,
Dev,
okay. Yes, yes.
Dev Bhaiya, would you like to read the last paragraph before we close?
श्योर भैया. ओके. पूर्णता के अर्थ में अपूर्णता स्पष्ट है, क्योंकि सह-अस्तित्व में परस्पर उपयोगिता पूरकता है. यह पूरकता पदार्थावस्था, प्राणावस्था, जीवावस्था एवं ज्ञानावस्था में प्रकाशित है. ज्ञानावस्था में मानव ही गण्य होता है. मानव जड़ चैतन्य का संयुक्त साकार रूप होने के कारण एवं ज्ञान अवस्था के पद में होने के कारण कर्म करते समय स्वतंत्र, फल भोगते समय परतंत्र होने की व्यवस्था उनमें ही समाहित है. Incompleteness becomes evident in relation to completeness. For in a coexistence, complementarity
Oh, sorry.
complementarity is expressed as mutual usefulness. This complementarity is manifest in the material order, biological order, animal order, and knowledge order. Only human beings are accounted for in the knowledge order, being the combined embodied form of the insentient and the sentient, and occupying the status of the knowledge order. Only human beings embody the provision of being independent while performing actions, yet dependent while experiencing their consequences.
Yeah. So, so first line that basically it says is that पूर्णता के अर्थ में अपूर्णता स्पष्ट है. So he's always saying that when you actually uh, you cannot understand the things uh, without the reference of completeness. So when from the reference of Jivan that is constitutionally complete, can you understand the progression towards its completeness? Can you understand the nature, that physico-chemical nature? It is only from the reference of awakening that you can understand the awakening progression. See, if you basically try to understand human nature when nobody is has actually understood and lived in a humane way, then it is not possible to actually understand human nature. So to understand human nature, you need a reference of basically evaluation of human nature, that what is the right human nature. It, so even when our constitution actually holds somebody guilty, then there is a certain sort of an assumption that what is right, right? So it is so here what basically he's saying is that he's giving the reference for human being to evaluate themselves. So because only then one can actually fulfill their gaps of incompleteness, right? So that is the basic idea. I think the rest of the things are fairly clear in this. That so I think it's important that injustice does not become the subject of our study. Justice becomes the subject of our study, and in the light of justice, in the light of nyaya, can we actually do the samiksha of injustice? In the light of something which is complete, right? Can we do samiksha or the critique of what is basically short of that completeness? Yeah. Yeah, it's about it's 2 minutes over. So I think yeah, we can maybe close today's session if Devpriya actually you permit.
जी भैया, sure. I think Christian भैया, do you want to say something? Unmuted, I guess.
ये वैसे तो पूरा पैराग्राफ स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड है, बट ये जो कर्म स्वतंत्रता की बात करते हैं ना, एट द लास्ट जो लाइन है वहां पर कहीं कहीं से इससे जुड़ता है कि कर्म स्वतंत्रता भी पर्टिकुलर एक जो सहअस्तित्व है या जो उसका नियम है उसके
हम्म,
अंतर्गत ही है। अदरवाइज जो परिणाम है, जो
हम्म,
फल है,
हम्म,
वो दुख के अर्थ में होगा। तो वहां भी स्वतंत्रता वैसे है नहीं, कर्म स्वतंत्रता भी एक पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन में ही है।
right. So we basically an overall frame of coexistence and what can unfold is very clear, right? So ह्रास भी नियम से हो रहा है और विकास भी नियम से हो रहा है. So we have the कर्म स्वतंत्रता or the freedom of action whether to choose the path for vikas or path for ह्रास, right? But it will only move in the direction for only in the what existence has the provision for in that so that is. But however there one has the freedom to choose in
Yes,
human being that
yes,
this
yes, yes. Yeah, in that sense, we can choose happiness or unhappiness.
right,
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
Thank you जी, सबको बहुत धन्यवाद. Thank you
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you. Good day. Bye.
One day.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you, everyone. Thank